All right. Looks like I'm live. Awesome. So, hopefully, I can be heard pretty well. Let's just see here. Boo, 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 boo. Okay. Okay. Making sure that my microphone is in the right spot. Okay. And without further ado, even if I don't have any viewers, I will try to upload this to YouTube after the stream is over. But hey, let's just get it done. Let's get this out of the way. Welcome, everyone. This is Video James here in my first ever live stream. I probably don't have anyone in here yet, which is fine. I've never live streamed before, but who knows? Maybe one of my 70 subscribers will come in. But let's talk about AFCON Cup of Nations 2023/2024. It's really AFCON 2024, but we call it AFCON 2023 because that's when it was supposed to take place. It's all complicated and COVID related. So we're in Ivory Coast. So far, it's been a relatively run-of-the-mill tournament in Africa. And by that, I mean everything is unexpected. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I was talking with AD744, who is actually streaming at the same time as me. So check him out, AD744. He's doing live reactions for AFCON and for the Asian Cup right now. He's doing a stream at the same time as me, talking about literally the exact same topic. So I encourage you to check him out. I'm going to take these glasses off because I don't think you want to see this reflect. Yeah, let's just take these off. That's probably a lot more pleasant, right? So what we need to keep in mind here is that Senegal are defending champions. Our hopefuls seem to be Algeria, who lost their title in Cameroon when Senegal, I think it was in the final, Senegal beat Algeria in the end to get their maiden AFCON title. What else do we need to look at? Well, Egypt, as always, Mohamed Salah. Always need to look at that. Tunisia, this is probably the first major tournament where we don't have Wabi Khazri in the lineup. Morocco, fresh off of their big World Cup performance last year. Now technically 2 years ago, where they reached the semifinals, the first African nation to do so, the first Arab nation to do so, and performed very admirably after beating Spain and Portugal and Belgium. Belgium at the time being the number one team in the world. Lots of changes going into 2024. And a lot of new, fresh perspectives. Nigeria, a big player we're seeing probably did not perform up to snuff on their opening match day one. We have Algeria as well, not performing that well. Other teams, coming out of left field. Cape Verde beating Ghana. Of course, something that we all need to look at, Namibia beating Tunisia. What does this mean? Does this mean that certain teams are getting worse, certain teams are getting better? Have I been right all along about my conspiracy theories regarding certain teams and how, they're not performing that well because, it's their own fault? I hope you guys can hear me a little better. I don't know if YouTube's thing reads all that well, but it's saying that I'm super quiet and, nobody's in the chat anyways. But let's just dive right into the results here. So first off, we opened up our tournament in Abidjan with Ivory Coast taking on Guinea-Bissau. this was relatively standard fare. This was something that I think a lot of us expected. Some of us are a little big on Guinea-Bissau right now is like this little underdog team, but I personally haven't been with Guinea-Bissau, not with Guinea. But we're talking about Guinea-Bissau here, where Crasso and Seko Fofana scored in the 4th minute. Crasso scored in the 58th minute. Guinea-Bissau did not put on much of a defense. For opening games, I personally found this match kind of lackluster, but I think this was par for the course. I think we expected the host nation, Ivory Coast, to win. Nigeria, meanwhile, this was a game I watched because I didn't watch actually much of the opening game between Ivory Coast and Guinea-Bissau, but I did watch a good chunk of Nigeria versus Equatorial Guinea. We had a very strange goal from Salvador from Equatorial Guinea. Was it all that impressive? No, but it was a good goal. I think it was standard. There was an attempt to make an offside call there, but the offside call did not happen because, well, Salvador was not offside. So he played very well. Meanwhile, for Nigeria, I feel like there's only one standout player, and it's Osimhen. Osimhen really controlled the attack for Nigeria the entire game and, had a very technically sound goal, was very keenly aware of of remaining onside before the pass. Very smart of him, did not let his instincts get in the way. Got a great goal. It wasn't pretty by any means. It was not a pretty goal, but it was a well-earned and well-thought-out goal. But it ended in a 1-1 draw. Everyone's saying this is par for the course for Equatorial Guinea because they're Titan Slayers, they're Giant Slayers. But really, I think Nigeria has been on the downswing for quite a while. I've been very off-put by the downward trend in Nigerian football for the past few years. I remember my first AFCON was, I want to say 6 years ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago. And watching Nigeria drop the ball to Mauritania and Mauritania's, maiden world African Cup of Nations. And, back then we were talking about, oh, well, the Nigerian players aren't getting paid very well. There's a pay disparity. There is, protest, whatever. But now it's 2024, guys. If Nigeria were going to perform, it should be right now, right? They should be out there, slaughtering Equatorial Guinea's team. Not in the literal sense, I got to make sure I'm making that very clear on a YouTube stream. YouTube has got some very strict terms and conditions now, but either way, just not a great performance from Nigeria. A great performance from Osimhen. Just don't know where the rest of that energy is going with Nigeria. You can't focus and have one man be your star player. Maybe we'll see something formulate with Nigeria when they play against Ivory Coast tomorrow. Maybe, I would hope for Nigeria's sake that they can thump and put away Guinea-Bissau. It's expected of them. But, this opening performance at the AFCON leaves a lot to be desired. But let's go to Group B. I guess I should just say in Group A, I don't expect Equatorial Guinea to make waves, but I do expect them to advance to the knockout stages. With Guinea-Bissau in the mix and after getting a draw with Nigeria, I feel like 4 points between Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria are guaranteed. And then it'll just be, I don't know, decided on disciplinary points for all I know, goal difference. Right now, that's a little up in the air. Let's go to Group B, where we have Cape Verde, Egypt, Mozambique, and Ghana. Let's start with the shocker rather than the draw. Cape Verde beat Ghana 2-1. Monteiro, he came in with a pretty good, strike in the 17th minute. Um, but I think, and Jiku came in with a 56-minute strike, and honestly, um, based off my recollection, uh, there is an argument to be made that Ghana should have had 2 goals, going into extra time. Um, because I believe in the 46th or 47th minute, just off the top of my head, there was a strike. It was a well placed strike. Hit the bar and bounced off, went through everyone's feet, and then there was a follow up strike that saw the ball go into goal for Ghana. But then that, after quite a lot of celebration, that goal was overruled, and there's going to be arguments, about whether or not that goal should have been disallowed. But I'm in the camp that the referee made the right call. Jean-Jacques Ndala Ngambo, or Ngabo, Ngambo, excuse me. Um, because if you look at that goal, the more closely you analyze it, it's a comedy of errors. It bounces off the bar, hits the forearm, or actually, yeah, it's not the forearm. To be fair, hit the arm of a Ghanaian player. I don't know the names of the players off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I've been over inundated with matches, but bounces off the arm. That could have been a handball. It could have been called as a handball. Thankfully it didn't. I would have disagreed with calling it a handball, considering, nothing could have been controlled there. Um, then follow that up with the ball goes back through the legs, sent all the way back over to onside, and then the strike is made. And then for some reason, you have a player that's already offside waiting for that pass. And then you have another player moving offside during that strike. And it was just, what are you doing? You just ruined your potential at a lead. But Jiku, great goal from Jiku. But Rodriguez, in the end, giving us that extra time goal, quite inspiring. For Cape Verde to put away Ghana here. But I think that Rodriguez goal was clinical. It's I mean, the commentator said this. You wait for these kinds of opportunities, and when they come for you and they open up, you dream about it, and then you hit it, and then you hit it perfect. And that's exactly what he did. He had a perfect opportunity, he got that strike, and he scored. Good for him. And that gave Cape Verde 3 points, putting them on top of the group, because Egypt and Mozambique did not go the way that we expected. I mean, sorry, I don't think Mozambique is that great of a team. How the F did they pull this off? Um, I've got a little bit of confusion. Like Mustafa Muhammad Ahmed Abdullah really went in with an extremely early goal, in the 2 minute mark. So I think it was like a minute 30 in, he thumps in a goal. Awesome. Just great, very reliable performance. Great showing for Mustafa. But then we get into the rest of the game. It's very, clogged up. Egypt is not doing anything impressive. I felt that for the entire game, everyone was trying to get Salah to score, because he's the talisman, he's the star. Everyone knows Mohamed Salah, the Liverpool, the Liverpool great here. But I feel Egypt is messing up trying to do that, because I think there are quite a few good players on the Egypt national team that need a better look at. There's Trezeguet. I like Coca. And even though Trezeguet and Coca are pushing 30, you know, there are younger players on the team that, or younger people that just haven't been called up, that should probably be given another look. It's like, listen, Omar Marmoush, plays for Eintracht Frankfurt, and he's got 4 goals in 20 appearances. That is, almost 25% return rate. Not as good as Salah. Salah has scored 56 goals and 97 caps for Egypt, but Salah is 31 now. Um, I'm not saying that he's aged, but or old. I think what I'm going to say applies to quite a few teams here, um, especially in North Africa, where we have these squads, and these squads are quality, but they're very aged. They're very aged. Egypt is one of the smaller offenders of the North African teams, but it's a very aged side. And on top of all this, one of my main issues with Egypt right now is that Salah, great player. But what I've noticed is that without a great squad to back him up, he's not capable of producing results. He can't carry the team on his own. And Egypt as a team is capable of helping Salah out and creating a great squad, but they're not playing the right players. They're not calling up the right players for a high profile tournament like this for Africa. So when Witi and Crescio are, or Crescio, I'm not sure. I'm sorry, but my Swahili is non-existent. But I don't think Mozambique should be tearing points away from Egypt here. They at the end of this should have been a 3-0 game, maybe a 3-1 game in favor of Egypt. That's just my honest opinion. But now I'm going to Group C, where we've got Senegal, Cameroon, Guinea, and Gambia. Senegal, we don't really need to talk about this 3-0 win against Gambia. This was to be expected. But I think what people really want to talk about is the Cameroon Guinea game. Magri scored a goal in the 51st for Cameroon. Bayo scored a goal for Guinea in the 10th minute. For Guinea. I don't know if I just made a redundancy. I'm talking too fast. But my main concern here was echoed 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I said Cameroon has no teeth. Everyone was like, "Well, you're crazy because they got a good result in the World Cup in 2022." Yeah, they got a good result in 2022 with one of their matches, but Cameroon has consistently been underperforming for years now, for years, half a decade of just constant crap from the Cameroon national squad. I love the Cameroonian team, but let's be honest here. I know this is conspiracy. When we look back at the previous AFCON, Cameroon was given the best possible opponents, going up against Gambia and Comoros. I think the Gambia thing, you can argue, okay, well, that Gambia would actually make it to the quarterfinals. Okay, fair enough. But when we saw Comoros, who barely squeaked into the knockouts against Cameroon, and multiple times throughout that tournament, the Cameroonian government had changed its COVID requirements and laws for specifically the soccer tournament. It was ridiculous. Looking at Comoros, this tiny little nation, ranked 140 something at the time, maybe 130 or 120. Now they're above 120. I'm pretty sure. Either way, being ranked as low as they were, and then being told when one goalkeeper, who wasn't even necessarily in the same room as the other goalkeepers, got exposed to COVID, now all the other goalkeepers had to stay in. So now we had a random defender who had never done, or who had done goalkeeping when he was a kid, goalkeeping now. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And it was clear, I feel match rigging at the time. some form of match rigging. And then on top of that, the very early red card on Comoros' captain, I will be mad about that game for years to come. And then everyone wants to tell me, based on the results and based off Cameroon getting to the AFCON semifinal last edition, that they are good. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Decent offense, terrible defense, as we saw with that Comoros game a few years back. And, once again, being proven the defense isn't there for Cameroon against Guinea. It's just not there. So what would you have me say here? It is abundantly ridiculous that we were going to expect Cameroon to perform. I will expect Cameroon to get knocked out in the round of 16 if they can make it to the knockouts, which I'll be honest, I do think they are capable of that. But who knows? Gambia might pull off an upset here in Ivory Coast. I'm getting off of my soapbox because I've said what I need to say about Cameroon. I'm mad about Cameroon. Group D. Let's move on to a little bit lighter talking about football here. Um, Burkina Faso, Angola, Algeria, and Mauritania. Um, I think let's start with Algeria and Angola. Um, Algeria is an aging side. At this point, I mentioned it with Egypt. Algeria is an aging side. A lot of their players are pushing 34, 35. Some are 33, some are 32. Um, but the vast majority of players are in their late 20s, early 30s. I still think a lot of players should be capable of quite a few feats by the time they hit 37, 38. But um, when your three main strike, let's just look at forwards here. When you have Slimani at 35, you have Buneja at 32. Buneja, who scored the goal in this game for Algeria. Riyad Mahrez is 32, which is fine for a captain. But what else do we have here? Belaili is 31. Um, our youngest forward here is Mohamed Amoura, who's 23. Then there's Adam Unas, who's 27. Granted they're there, but they're not the main forwards they're not on the starting squad. They're not on the starting 11. Um, our goalkeeper for Algeria, Mboli, is 37 years old. Then there's Ekhba, who is 33. We're not seeing Mandrea get pulled out there. I mean, it's a goalkeeper. You have a much longer shelf life as a goalkeeper than you do in any other role. Aisha Mandi, is 32 though, our defender. A lot of our starting 11, a lot of our most seasoned players in Algeria are starting to get a little bit gray in the gills. Um, do I think that Algeria can pull off results? Absolutely. I mean, Buneja's very early goal was beautiful. Algeria had a second on target shot that went through goal, but it was called for offside. But Angola, yes, they got their penalty kick from Mabululu, but Mabululu's goal wasn't this pretty amazing, like well done thing. It was your basic penalty kick. He faked out the keeper. Good for him. And then I'll give it to Mabululu. He had the wherewithal to realize that his goal may have not got in, charged that goal right away, ensured that the goal was made, even though it had actually gone in during the penalty kick. And well deserved goal from Mabululu, but no, Algeria should be tanking Angola. Angola is one of the worst performing teams in Southern Africa, south of the Congo. And the fact that they were able to tear away a point here, I was sitting here looking at, Mauritania should probably get third, if they, can have a good opener, which, as far as I'm concerned, Mauritania had a pretty decent opener, all things considered. You know, Angola has a very, wishy-washy offense, wishy-washy defense, whereas Algeria, super strong offense. I don't know where it was for a good chunk of this game, but, arguably should have won on offense alone, defense okay. Well, there you have it. Angola, Algeria, 1-1, 1-1. Burkina Faso, Mauritania. I believe there was 8 minutes in extra time during the second half. During the second half, and Bertrand Traore, who plays for Burkina Faso. He's a forward. He plays for Aston Villa. Oh, and the captain of Burkina Faso, excuse me. He scored a very late goal, 6 minutes in extra time in the second half. Mauritania arguably played out of their skins just to keep this defense going for as long as they did. Did I find it a very impressive game? No. I think overall the game was quite sloppy. And the fact that Traore got that goal as late as he did, and as a penalty kick, was extremely lucky. If that penalty did not happen, we'd be looking at Mauritania and Burkina Faso sitting on 1 point each. And, we would have chalked this down to disciplinary points. And, speaking of disciplinary points, good on Angola for having only one disciplinary issue during their game against Algeria. Algeria having 4? What's going on? I don't think Isasai, made any ridiculous calls during that game, but either way, let's move on to Group E, where my boys, Mali, are in the mix. Namibia, Tunisia, South Africa. This has been a little bit of an interesting group so far. I think it's not the most surprising. I think the most surprising here would be if Namibia were on top and South Africa were in second and Mali were in third, placing Tunisia in last. But that's not the makeup that we have right now. As of match day 1, our makeup is Mali's on top with 2 goals. Namibia's in second with 1 goal, both on 3 points. And then Tunisia and South Africa are rounding out the bottom based on goal difference. So let's talk about Namibia and Tunisia because this is a big deal for Namibia. This is the first African Cup of Nations win in Namibian history. And I think, honestly, I have to give it to Namibia here. I will throw in my vegetables after dessert here in regards to this win for Namibia. But I think it was a well-deserved win by Namibia. I watched that whole game. I found that Namibia's defense was decent. Its offense was decent. Sloppy all around. So many opportunities Namibia had to score against Tunisia. Like, based off of Tunisia's performance in this game, Namibia should have had, 3, maybe 4 goals ahead of Tunisia. An insane number when you really think about it and realize what teams we're talking about. Namibia had multiple chances, and it was just, some very clear errors on the part of the assist and the pass, where it was just, you should have thought about that, or you should have ran a little bit faster. You should have put the gas in. But at the end of the day, Hoto got a goal in the 88th minute over Tunisia. This isn't, a guy that plays in France or in England or even in the States. This is a guy that plays for the Orlando Pirates in South Africa. And I really think that says a lot that this guy had a beautiful header, an absolutely stunning header on target, onside against Tunisia, goal counted. And then later, arguably would have brought the score up to 2-0, but was just slightly offside, and there was an offside call. Namibia here, Hoto here, man of the match as far as I'm concerned. Good for the guy. That was amazing. Tunisia needs to get its shit together. Wabi Kazri's gone, and Wabi Kazri is probably gone because how old is Wabi Kazri right now? born in 91. So he's 32 right now. He's going to turn 33 next month, less than a month away from turning 33. Um, and he's not retired, right? Like, why isn't he here? Did he just end on the World Cup? Was that his plan? If so, totally understand. Tunisia needs him, right? What are we doing with that one? And I'm a guy who said on video before that I think Wabi Kazri was overrated a few years ago, because he was getting old. He wasn't performing as well as he used to. And I still uphold that, but Wabi Kazri still apparently made up the team until you realize Tunisia is even more aged than Algeria is on average. We have players that are 35. We have players that are 34 on attack. Forwards. What is happening, gang? What is going on? Right? So I was watching that game and I just went, Tunisia, defense is a mess. For Tunisia, defense is a mess. The only reason why they got by with the scoreline that they did was because they were a little smart with the offside onside. I'll give them that. And keeping Namibian players offside when they needed them to be offside. But more so, what really caught my eye was watching as Tunisian offense crumbled on corner kicks multiple times. Tunisian defense crumbled multiple times and only survived because of Namibian sloppy plays from Namibia. Do I think Tunisia can get into the next round? Absolutely. I think this might have scared them out of their skin. I think they'll do just fine against South Africa on the third match day. Against Mali, that leaves a little bit more interpretation, because I think Mali is really going to go all the way. I think Mali might make it to the finals this year. I shared with AD744 that I think that Mali and Morocco are going to be in the final match, with Morocco taking it. But let's move on to Mali and South Africa before we get ahead of ourselves. I think Mali had a very clear, strong win over Bafana Bafana. I think it came a little too late with Hamari Traore. Lots of Traores to keep up with. But Hamari Traore got a good 60th minute goal. Lasina Sinayoko, also a great 66-minute goal. Really just put the nail in the coffin in the second half for South Africa. I'll be honest, I was really excited to watch this match because I'm a Mali fan. I really do support them. As I love their players, I love their team, I love their spirit, I love their capabilities. South Africa, I think since 2010 has been on this huge downward spiral. I think this really showed it. South Africa had penalty kick opportunities here, ballooned them, skied them, missed like crazy. Where's the accuracy from South Africa? Because it's not like all their plays were bad. I saw some pretty, high profile plays during this match off of, South Africa's midfield. But as soon as it got onto offense, it was nothing. It petered out immediately. And maybe that speaks for Mali's defense, though. When we talk about Malian football, we always talk about their scoring capability rather than their defensive capability. It's why they, tend to crumble and choke at the end of tournaments and at the end of qualifications for World Cups. But no, just a nothing performance from South Africa here. Outside of the midfield, I think the midfield did great. But, great for Mali. 2-0. Group F, we've got Morocco, Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DR Congo, Zambia, and Tanzania. We expected Tanzania here to get clobbered by Morocco. Tanzania is one of those teams where we expect them to lose, and we're ready for it, right? And yeah, they lost. They always make it to the AFCON, and they always lose. They always get clobbered. And I want that one day to change, because Tanzania, even in this game where they were where they were thrown to the wolves by taking on Morocco, arguably the best team in Africa right now. By the way, I don't know why I said that they always go to the African Cup of Nations. They've only been twice before. But not a good record in AFCON either way. I do feel for the Tanzania team. I think at the end of the day, this was a tough team to get drawn in with. I can see potentially them going toe to toe with DR Congo, but I don't think that they're going to show us anything special or spectacular in terms of their game against Zambia. I think they'll probably lose their game against Zambia, but let's just look at it. Strictly Morocco also falling in line with the North African issue, where a lot of these teams are just too old now. Again, probably not the most egregious offender. I don't think they're the least offensive of the 4 North African teams because we've got Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt, and Morocco. Oh, and then we can technically count Mauritania in that. But when we say North African teams in AFCON, we know who we're talking about. And Morocco put it away. Roman Saiss, 30th minute goal. Anahi, 77th minute goal. And Nasiri, a beautiful 80th minute goal. And Banu doing a great job in goal, showing off why he was in contention for the Golden Glove in the World Cup in 2022. Just extremely capable. And that's where I do have to give it to Tanzania a little bit. Tanzania did not get a lot of shots on target, but the shots they did get on target, had it not been for the fact that Banu was there, pretty decent chance that Tanzania could have actually gotten a goal or two in this match. I think maybe just one goal was most likely. Let's go to DR Congo versus Zambia. I did not watch this game. 1-1 draw. DR Congo has, a young team. Zambia has a young team. I expect these results both ways. I'm expecting I'm going to have to mute because I think my fiance is about to walk into the apartment. But as it stands, all the third place teams only have 1 point. That makes sense. Except for Tunisia, who's sitting on 0 points. Right now, as it stands, Mozambique, Zambia, Equatorial Guinea, and Guinea are all the best third place teams. I think that's going to change very dramatically as we move on in the tournament. I guess, it's now time for me to provide my knockout predictions for this tournament. And I think I'm going to just tell you who I still think is going to go to the knockout stage. Right now, and actually, I'm kind of surprised that Cape Verde beat Ghana, because even though I have Cape Verde advancing to the knockout rounds, I did not expect them to beat Ghana, at least I don't think. I have Senegal, and this is in a weird circle, so I'm sorry for the way that I announce this. Senegal and Cape Verde, with Senegal being the group winner in their group. I have Mali playing against Algeria, with Mali being their group winner. Nigeria versus Cameroon. I think I had Nigeria as topping their group at the time. I'm just going to double check if that makes sense with what I have here. I might have had Ivory Coast topping the group. No, I had Nigeria topping at the time. Yeah. Zambia and Ghana, Tunisia, Morocco, Equatorial Guinea, Egypt, South Africa versus Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire versus Guinea. And at the end of all this, I have Mali and Morocco making it to the finals. I feel like Burkina Faso and Zambia are also going to make it to the semis. And overall, I think Morocco is going to be the clear favorite to win. I think they will win. People say that's a little bit of a fool's errand to predict the winner and to give the strongest looking team, the trophy at an AFCON. But, I think that trend is starting to change, where we saw Senegal was clearly the best team in Africa at the time for the 2021 AFCON. They blew it out of the water. 2019, it wasn't Senegal, but it was Algeria. We all knew Algeria was at the top at that time. Algeria blew it out of the water. But yeah, um, I do not expect, as my surprises, I do not expect Ghana to make it far in this tournament. I think they're gonna, get knocked out in the round of 16. If they even make it to the round of 16 at this point, I think that Cape Verde loss was devastating for the Black Stars. I'd be surprised if South Africa does manage to make it in third, but we will, and play in the knockout stages. But we'll see. We'll see. I did have enough confidence that they do move on to the round of 16, so we'll see where that goes. But at the end of the day, I think our top 4 teams here to look out for, just based off of brackets, because to be honest with you, I don't think Burkina Faso is at the highest level, but they've consistently performed well at the AFCONs. I think this game that they just played against, who did they play against? My memory is gone as soon as I finished talking about it. But I think this game that they played against Mauritania is a sign that Burkina Faso is not as strong as they used to be, um, a few years ago. But, scoring consistently in 15 straight AFCON matches, performing well to the point where they're getting into semifinals. I think it is expected, based off of how the brackets can shake out, that Burkina Faso probably will make it to the semifinals here. Though I don't think they stand a chance against Morocco. I don't think they stand a chance against Mali. I don't think they stand a chance against Egypt. And yet I have Egypt going out in the quarterfinals. So, we'll see where it goes. I should just end the stream. This has been Video James. I know nobody came into my stream while I was streaming, but I appreciate you guys, mayhaps watching the replay. It's been a fun time to talk about soccer again, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.